al-Jolani, he's an Al-Qaeda terrorist. He is not Che Guevara. Not that actually Che Guevara was a terrorist as well. Just the fact that he shaved his beard. There's a lot of memes laughing about it on the internet right now that one day you're a radical jihadist with a beard and then you shave it and you come to the world and says, oh, I'm a moderate, tolerant liberator. Have peace with me. Come and support me. Come and visit my country. Marhaba, marhaba, welcome. Nafik, nafik, baklawa, baklawa. Guys, I don't know. The guy... Syria has officially fallen. The rebels in Syria have managed to take down the Assad regime and take over the country. Assad is nowhere to be seen. Some said that he had fled and went to Russia to seek asylum with his buddy Putin. Others saying that he might have even died. There's rumors that once the rebels were closing in, his airplane took off trying to escape, and then he was flying, turned around mid-air, went somewhere else, and then the signal disappeared. Was he shot down? Did he crash? Did he just do a Houdini trick and disappeared into some kind of a remote radical dictator island alongside with the Epstein clients? Who knows? Israel have just invaded Syria. Israel have put their troops inside of Syria in key strategic positions. What are they doing there? And who are these rebels? Are they really Al-Qaeda or peace-loving Syrians? Now, there's so many questions here, so many things are happening in the last few days in the Middle East, and I'm gonna try to break it down to you in the most simple way. And for that, let's watch history and see this map. This is one of the best illustrations I've seen so far, helping to explain the last 13 years of conflict in Syria. The red color are the Assad forces, the green are the rebels, the yellow are the Kurdish, the resistance, and the black is ISIS. And you can see that in the last 13 years, Syria have been plunged into this bloodthirsty war with these war tribes and factions trying to destroy one another. The Kurdish just trying to survive and bring back their children, their daughters who were kidnapped by ISIS or by the rebels, which by the way are the ones that right now freed Syria. You can see here that the Assad regime was at one point being pushed and cornered, one side ISIS, one side the rebels, with its back to Israel. And that's the point that Assad have made a deal with the devil. And that's the point that pissed so many Syrians on top of what happened until now, because Assad, to save his own skin, to save his own family, what he did, he came and he called for the help of Russia and Iran. And he basically told them, I'll give you whatever you want, just save me. And that's when Iran and Russia went in and started indiscriminately killing Syrians in the thousands, in the tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands. And he managed to some way suppress and oppress the rebels, al-Nusra, al-Qaeda. ISIS was destroyed and obliterated by America under Donald Trump. And Syria was brought back again to be under the dictatorship of the Assad regime. As you can see here, ISIS was huge. Look how much land they managed to get and how small became the Assad forces. And that's where the Russians and the Iranians went in and started helping and pushing them out. It's a very good illustration. I find this map very helpful to help people understand what's going on here. The Druze are there, but they're so small that no one can see them. That's when Iran and Russia basically entered and helped Assad regain control over Syria and keep his grip of dictatorship, of his dark regime over the people of Syria. And Syria basically became a whole war zone. The Kurdish were basically supported by the West, and the Assad regime was supported by Russia and Iran, and the rebels were just kind of a bunch of radical Al-Qaeda going around doing their own thing with ISIS. And then out of nowhere, bam, the rebels just came in and took the entire land and liberated Syria or brought it under another radical Muslim regime. We're going to talk about that in this video. But one of the reasons that they did that, and people don't like to say that, is thanks to Israel. Hezbollah was one of the main forces on behalf of Iran that was helping oppress the Syrian people. And why is that? You see, for Iran, having its claws in Syria gave a direct line to help feed Hezbollah so they can take control of Lebanon, oppress Lebanon, make it a terrorist state, and be a direct threat for Israel for one day to attempt to genocide Israel, as well give them a direct access all the way to Israel, to threaten Israel and take over the Middle East. For Russia, that was a great place to keep their allies, which are the enemies of the US, to keep them in the picture. America have Israel as an ally, Russia have Syria as an ally in the Middle East, and Hezbollah in Lebanon, and in some ways also Hamas and Palestine. Now, once Israel crushed Hezbollah and completely obliterated it, unfortunately, it didn't finish the job because the Biden administration was not very supportive. Who knows, maybe when Trump comes in power, it's going to be a different story. Maybe yes, maybe not. But once Israel took away Hezbollah out of the picture, the rebels saw an opportunity. And once Russia got so caught by fighting Ukraine and basically fighting the whole West through that war with Ukraine, Russia got too exhausted and depleted that they said, Syria, you're on your own. We can help you. Iran was humiliated and exhausted trying to fight and destroy Israel. And the same thing, Iran came out of the picture. And the rebels in Syria saw an opening. And just in a second, in a blitz, just went and took over the entire country of Syria. Air Force bases, palaces, Damascus, big cities in Syria, toppling the Syrian regime and taking over Syria. This is history in the making. And if you're Syrian and you're watching my channel right now, please hear me out. You get this kind of opportunity once in 100 years, maybe an opportunity to press the button and make a restart, and then to start a whole new nation from scratch, to bring back all the people to their lands, to release all these poor prisoners who got, oppressed and unlawfully imprisoned, and to start rebuilding your country from beginning. Now, the Muslims in Syria, I'll call the Arabs in Syria, have a chance right now to build a country that is going to be fair for Muslims, for Christians, for Jews, for the Kurds, for anyone. And I would even dare to say a country that will have peace with the Jews. You see, in my book, one of the prime indicators that a Muslim country is doing well and it's actually moving towards a better future is if that country becomes safe for Jews to visit. So imagine if Syria becomes safe for the Jewish people to go and visit Syria and Syrians to come visit Israel, we've just, completely changed the Middle East to a better place. We just made the Middle East the next Europe. With that said and done, that is very highly, unfortunately, unlikely. Let's talk about the Assad family, so you understand better what's happening. Hafez al-Assad took over Syria and made it his own kind of a dictatorship. And he started executing people right, left, and center. He started eliminating opposition, putting tens of thousands of people in jail for doing nothing, just for speaking out their voice. And under him, Syria became this evil regime. Now, coming close to the end of his days, he had two candidates from his children that were the candidates to become the rulers after him. The first one was Bashar al-Assad. He was the Arabic alpha male. He was a leader, he was an army man, he was charismatic, he liked to drive fast cars and I don't know what. And he died in a car accident. So his father had to go and call his son back, which was a beta male, the guy that will steal your girlfriend kind of person. He was not the macho Arab person. He was more of an Arab nerd. Someone studying to become an eye doctor abroad. And when he came back, he joined the army to learn a little bit about the military and to take over the country because his father was sick. And people in the West were hoping that maybe that would bring a change into Syria. Boy, how wrong they were. They were thinking this guy is westernized, this guy doesn't look like the, typical radical Arab male. He looks more like the Western college boy. And what happened was the exact opposite. He was worse than his father. Under him, they've killed more than 500,000 of Syrians. They have put more Syrians in prison, torturing them, executing them, including women and children. Right now, as the rebels are freeing all these prisoners, just letting them run the streets, we've seen children, we've seen women, we've seen people who are about to be executed. Listen to these guys.
أقسم بالله الذي لا إله إلا هو إعدامنا كان اليوم قبل نص ساعة أنا وهالزلمة.
They're saying basically that more than 50 of them were supposed to be executed today. There is concentration camps in Syria where they execute people and then they crush them. That machine that you see in this video, that's a crushing machine where they crush the bodies like they do in a construction site so they can eliminate them, so they can hide the evidence. Kind of similar to what the Nazis did. There's some very disturbing resemblance between Nazi Germany and radical Islam. They have very similar values and views about life, about the Jews, about genociding, about controlling the world. Just kind of one is more academically evil, I would call it, and one is more religiously evil. It's very hard. You get my point. They're both the same face under a different kafiyah, let's call it that way. One went Heil Hitler, the other one goes Allah Akbar. Assad regime was doing terrible things against its people, and that's what brought this anger and pain and hunger to take him down, not only just because he was Shia and they were Sunni, a big part of it because the Shia was oppressing the Sunni there, but the people in Syria wanted to topple him. And once Israel was able to crush away their enemies, the enemies of Syria and weaken them to the point that they saw an opportunity, they went and they took that opportunity.
Why did you even rope me into this? Because he roped me into this. Well, him over there, he roped me into this. Well, he roped me into this. Well, what about me? He roped me into this.
And they took over the country in the speed of light. In my last video, I spoke about the military tactic that they use and why did it work. And you can go watch it, but the idea here that they went so fast and took over that country, and there's rumors about thousands of Syrian Assad soldiers who fled into Iraq and dropped their weapons and surrendered because they don't want to stay in that country. Now the real question is, which direction will Syria go? Like I said, this happens once in 100 years that you get the chance to restart your country and start all over again. We are seeing voices, and I'll give them that. We are hearing moderate voices that are coming and saying this is a Syria for everyone. This is a Syria for all the people. Doesn't matter if you're Muslim or not. I don't know how much I believe them because you need to understand the rebels in Syria are not innocent. The leader, al-Jolani, was an Al-Qaeda founder. He basically grew up in a radical Muslim country, went and joined Al-Qaeda, loved the ideas that they bring, brought it back to Syria and opened the Al-Qaeda branch in Syria and tried to take over Syria, not to liberate Syria from Assad, but to make Syria for what he saw as the Ummah al-Muslimi, as the Muslim Ummah, the Muslim nation that he saw from the days of the Quran. And that's what people in the West are failing to understand. What really is Islam? You see, you look today and you say, that's radical Islam, that's not real Islam. Radical Islam did not start today. Radical Islam is factions today trying to imitate original Islam from the days of the Quran. When Islam started, it was started by a bunch of warlords, and they went and tried to colonize and conquer the world. And they were making up religious rules as they were on the go. And as their fighters were going and destroying and looting, killing the men and taking the women and their daughters and basically making them sex slaves. So some of these fighters came and said, hey, can we really go and kill the husbands and rape their wives? So to keep the incentive for the warriors to keep doing that, they came and said, you know what, let me just give me 1 second. They went back and, oh yeah, that's a religious fatwa. It's right there. If you're a Muslim jihadist and you're fighting the evil infidels and you kill the man, you can take his wives. And what happened if I want to take a 12-year-old girl? 1 second, goes back. Oh yeah, I come back. Yeah, that's allowed as well. That's okay, that's okay. If you do that in the name of Islam, if you do that in the name of the Prophet, you can do that as well. So radical Islam basically started in the beginning of Islam. But with that, there was a lot of wisdom and beauty that came with Islam. And modern Muslims today need to choose what kind of Islam they want to bring to the table. Radical Islam, or like Saudi Arabia and the Emirates, a beautiful, more moderate Islam that is trying to fit itself to the future and to the Western values that we're living in. And that is the question, what will happen with Syria? Jolani, he's an Al-Qaeda terrorist. He is not Che Guevara. Not that Che Guevara was a terrorist as well. Jolani is not a freedom fighter. He's not a liberator. Just the fact that he shaved his beard. There's a lot of memes laughing about on the internet right now that one day you're a radical jihadist with a beard and then you shave it and you come to the world and says, oh, I'm a moderate, tolerant liberator. Have peace with me. Come and support me. Come and visit my country. Marhaba, marhaba, welcome. Knafi, knafi, baklawa, baklawa. Guys, I don't know. The guy is not really a good guy, and the people under him are the people who are right now, even as we see, are kidnapping Kurdish and Yazidi women and taking them away as sex slaves and taking pride of it. You know what, even listen to this. Listen to a video of some of these rebels.
مطأطئين الرؤوس ذليلين لله سبحانه وتعالى خاضعين له سبحانه وتعالى.
Victory came by Allah, not by the fact that Israel destroyed all their enemies, okay? They want to build Dar al-Islam. Like I explained, Islam have divided the world to two. Dar al-Islam, Dar al-Harb. The House of Islam is anywhere that is submitted under the radical Muslim Sharia law. Anywhere that under Islam is Dar al-Islam. Anywhere that is not is Dar al-Harb. So in their eyes, Syria was Dar al-Harb, was under the Shia. They need to come and take Syria back and put it under the Muslim Caliphate, the way that they see it, which is a very radical way. Here you go.
من هنا يا قدس من هنا قادمون يا قدس صبرا يا أهل غزة صبرا صبرا
صبرا يا أهل غزة, meaning patient people of Gaza, be patient. We're gonna come and we're gonna liberate you. We're gonna come and we're gonna take Al-Quds, Jerusalem. And then, they start with this takbir, Allahu Akbar, and all these stuff that they like to shout in the air. The bottom line, you're seeing here, the rebels there,
سائرون على طريق محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم وعلى طريق الصحابة رضوان الله تعالى عليهم 13 عاما ظنوا أن النور الذي انطلق من هنا من أول مظاهرة من هنا من المسجد النبوي عندما خرجت صيحات الله أكبر الله أكبر وكذلك بإذن الله وكذلك المسجد الأقصى وكذلك مسجد محمد وكذلك الكعبة ندخلها بإذن الله تكبير مكبرين مهللين متعطعين الرؤوس ذليلين لك وكذلك على القوم الكافرين والله أكبر لبيك يا الله.
So he's saying, you're also going to take Al-Aqsa, which is Jerusalem. We're going to take Al-Kaaba, which is in Saudi Arabia. So these are the kind of radicals that the Middle East get goosebumps when they start hearing them talk, because they don't bring with them the words of peace. They don't bring with them stability. It's just another bunch of radicals taking over another bunch of radicals and making the place, radical. Is that going to be Syria? Is that going to be the future of Syria? Now bear in mind, why do you think Israel have invaded the Golan Heights? Why did Israel invade Syria right now and put their soldiers in key positions, strategic positions in Syria? Israel is not trying to take over Syria. There's no one in Syria right now that can even pose a challenge for Israel, for the IDF. Israel is not trying to invade Syria. The reason Israel have took over parts of Syria around the border is because Israel is making sure that no October 7 attempt is going to happen again. Not from Hamas, not from Hezbollah, not from the rebels in Syria. Because obviously many of them have that idea that they would like to turn around now with the momentum and charge at Israel and do another October 7 or even worse. And here's what you need to understand. Israel had an agreement with Hafez al-Assad, with the Assad regime, that for the last 50 years, that you have to stay away from the Israeli border. If you even come close to the Israeli border, that's a declaration of war. If one of your airplanes fly close, we take it down. And to help you understand this, imagine this is Israel, right? That Israel is a small, tiny country. The border of Israel is right here. All of Israel is squeezed inside that small piece of land. It's not like Russia. It's not like America where you have huge, vast borders. If an invader comes, it will take them days, weeks, if not even months to come in, and it will give you time to prepare. Around Israel, the air border of Israel is actually above its enemy neighbors. So airplanes in Syria, fighter jets in Syria cannot fly over half of Syria because Israel will tell them don't come close. Because once they come with that border, it will take them less than 15 minutes, less than 5 minutes to reach Tel Aviv, to reach Haifa, to reach Dimona, and to bomb key locations in Israel, and Israel cannot take that risk. So that's why Israeli forces right now are in the Golan Heights, in the border with Syria, making sure, watching, looking to see what's going to happen next. Are the radical Al-Qaeda, radical Islam people going to take over that country, or the peaceful Syrians going to take over that country? And I've heard voices of relatively peaceful Syrians that seem to be genuinely honest about it. We are having right now people, Syrian refugees and immigrants all around the world, including here in Germany, including in my town, that went celebrating in the streets last night, and they were just so hyped and excited. Because you need to understand, under Bashar al-Assad, under all of the Assads, tens of thousands, not even hundreds of thousands of Syrians were imprisoned, were sent to jail to be tortured, to be executed, including women and children, in the most horrific way. More than 500,000 of the Syrian population have died. The several millions are immigrants right now all around the world. There's almost not a single household in Syria that was not affected by a tragedy of some sort from under the Assad regime, from under Iran and Russia and the oppression that they brought into Syria. And for that reason, many of them are celebrating. Many of them are even going the extra mile to come and say, we need to thank Israel That's unheard of. Here, listen to this guy from Syria.
اليوم يلي عم تظاهروا تأييدا لهذه الثورة يجب أن تقولوا شكرا لإسرائيل ويجب أن يرفع علم إسرائيل فوق كل منزل في سوريا ولن نخاف من قول كلمة الحق. سمعت ما سمعت؟ حماس القذرة كوهنة أسامة حمدان من شهر تقريبا في مقابلة.
He's saying, you heard me right. Every house in Syria should have right now an Israeli flag out of its window saying, thank you, Israel. You were the only one to actually help liberate us from the Assad regime. No one else helped us. Not the West. No one actually cared. When Muslims are killing Muslims, the West doesn't care. They only care when the Jews are trying to fight a genocide attempt or when the Jews are trying to rescue back their children. But that's called anti-Semitism. That's nothing new. That has been around the block for, unfortunately to say, from the beginning of history. And we're seeing it still not today in its peak, maybe in Oxford and some, elite universities in Europe and America, which is very ridiculous and, mind-baffling. But that's a topic for another video. But bottom line is, people in Syria are starting to see that Israel is not the enemy. And I'm hoping that more people will see that Israel is probably their best ally and their best chance for stability and for a future. You don't stop becoming a radical Muslim just because you shaved your beard, all right? Or just because you hit the kafiyah. That doesn't stop you from becoming a radical Muslim. I have to check if my camera is still recording. That doesn't stop you from becoming a radical Muslim. Now, who knows? Perhaps he did change. Perhaps he did have a come to Jesus moment or come to, I don't know what, less radical version of Muhammad moment. Long story short, will Syria become a safer, better place for Syrians and for the people around Syria? The chances are quite slim, I'll be honest. But one thing is for sure, and you can mark my word on it. Once the fog of war is going to be done right now, and the Assad regime is completely going to be toppled, and Syria is going to be in the hands of these rebels, we're going to start seeing them fighting each other. You're going to start seeing the radical Al-Qaeda-like rebels who like to kidnap Yazidi and Kurdish girls and destroy Christmas trees and kill the Christians and the Druze and anyone who's not Muslim. And you're going to see the more peaceful Syrians who actually want to bring Syria back to the Western world, to the modern world. You're going to start seeing them colliding. And the question is who's going to win? Who's going to take over Syria and make it the Syria that we're going to know for the next 2, 3, 5, 10, 20 years, 100 years ahead? And that's why I'm saying Syria right now is having its own Berlin Wall moment where they literally are about to shape a new Syria that can affect the entire Middle East. A Syria that will help weaken Iran and the proxies of radical terrorism and stabilize the Middle East, or a Syria just going to add another bloodthirsty mess, jihadist mess to the Middle East. This is the breaking point. It doesn't look too good for the moderate because the radicals are, their leader is the leader of Al-Qaeda, and a lot of these soldiers are Al-Qaeda soldiers. But who knows? Like I said, maybe he had a come to Muhammad moment and he decided that he's gonna change his ways and try to really build. I personally don't really believe it. I don't think that you stop becoming a radical jihadist just because you shaved your beard. I don't really believe that. But let's see, that is very interesting. Another option that comes to mind is maybe Syria is not going to be able to become a functioning country because it takes more than just a bunch of radical beardless jihadists to come and establish a functioning government. You need to have clerks, you need to have teachers, you need to have academic people, you need to have visionary people, you need to have an economy, people who understand an economy and banking and I don't know what. And if all these people run away, you end up having a terrorist failing state that becomes a hub for terrorism. So if Syria becomes the next Afghanistan, the next Iraq, literally a wild west between bloodthirsty jihadist tribes trying to kill one another, we can already see the Druze and the Kurds kind of saying we got to take care of our own. The Druze went and freed a lot of prisoners and took over a piece of land and said, that's our home, our place, don't come close. Anyone come close, you're at war with us. This is where we live, this is our villages, stay out. The Kurds are also trying to kind of create a tunnel to completely cut down Syria from Iran, Lebanon from Iran, Hezbollah, Hamas from Iran, and that tunnel is going to reach all the way, across the border with Jordan to Israel. So the Druze and the Kurds might be connected in some kind of a chain, and then it's going to leave the Sunnah in the middle and some Shia factions. So it is hard to see where is it going to go. And like I said, we're going to be hearing a lot about it in the next few days, and I'm going to try to bring that to you in the most simplistic way. There's many other topics I want to cover, and I'm going to make other videos, so stay tuned and you can watch the other videos where I'm going to break it down to small topics and just bring it to you in the most user-friendly and simple way. Like I said, I'm getting my information from some of my relatives from Syria, some of my Syrian friends, some of my military background as an officer in the IDF, and someone who studied the whole region of the Middle East on top of its religions, from Islam, Christianity, Judaism, and everything in between. I actually literally walked all of the Middle East almost by foot. So I know it very well inside and out, and I'm gonna try to bring that to you. But if you enjoyed today's video, I would highly appreciate if you can do the whole shebang of subscribe, like, share, leave a comment. Also, if you wanna find direct ways to help my channel keep growing, go and check my Patreon, where you can find practical ways to support my work, because after all, I am doing this for free and out of my own free time, and this has become my main source of income. And with your help, I can keep doing this and I can make more and more videos, and the more time I can allocate and dedicate to making these videos for you, and I would highly appreciate it. So go check that out. But until then, guys, don't do anything stupid. In general, yep, the camera's still recording. And in general, don't send your children to these elite institute universities like Oxford or I don't know what. Who the heck would want to waste his money to send his children to be brainwashed by these anti-Semites and to become part of this feeding ground for radical, useful idiots, as we see right now happening in the US? So my point is, we're coming to a world that you need to be more careful with where you send your children. Look at the money. Look who's giving the money, and then you'll know what they're teaching. And a lot of these elite institutes have undoubtedly been infiltrated by radical jihadist money, by Qatar, by other Muslim radical countries who are just sending them, pouring money on them. And then you have these morally bankrupt professors just going around and teaching people that Osama bin Laden was right, Hitler was right, Israel is the bad guys, and Hamas are the good guys. So yeah, take care of your children, guys, and make sure that you watch and monitor what they're watching on their phone, what they're watching on TikTok, what they're watching on social media, and the gods of the algorithm who have been, just became amplified